Everyone, welcome to the June 25th Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to the roll call of members. Madam Clerk will call the roll.
Councilman Kincaid.
Present.
Councilman Campbell.
Here.
Councilman Coots.
Here.
Councilman Robertson.
Here.
Councilman Copeland.
Here.
Councilman Wheat.
Here.
Councilman Fleming.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, and it's great to see all of your smiling faces this evening. Now we have a full quorum tonight. Now we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Any questions, comments, changes to our previous meetings minutes?
Make a motion we approve the minutes? Sorry.
Did everybody have a chance to look at the June 15th special meeting minutes for those of you who were here? We can approve those tonight. I just sent them out a couple of hours ago. Well, it was 3 o'clock, but if you've read them and you're okay with them, we can approve them, or we can wait until the next meeting and approve them.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Okay, so we'll approve both June 11th and June 15th.
Okay, so make a motion to
approve the minutes for June the 11th and June the 15th.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, minutes are approved.
Thanks.
I heard we have a special guest with us tonight, Kim Newnham, the new Executive Director of the YMCA. If you wanted to come and introduce yourself to everyone, we'd appreciate it. Sorry, I'll get used to that.
You got my name right, by the way.
Okay.
Greetings to everyone. I am the new Executive Director at the Witham Family YMCA, and I've been with the Y 29 years total. I've been with the YMCA of Honolulu for 5 years, the YMCA of Grand Rapids for 3, and then I've been here in Indianapolis about 21 years. So thank you so much. I'm excited about being here in Lebanon, and this is my 4th week, and things are going well so far. So I'm looking forward to meeting each and every one of you guys, and hopefully we can partner together in different ways and make this community even better than it already is. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Kim.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. We'll move on now to old business. Any old business to come before the council tonight? Okay, then we'll move directly on to new business. The first item I have up here is the Lebanon Economic Development Commission nomination. So just to give council an update of what this explanation of what this is. This is a fairly technical legal board that we have. It's not a very active. It meets generally just in relation to economic development deals that we have sometimes through the city and different financial structures we have. So this has already been established, correct, Rob? Yes. We're just, all the appointments that were made previously from the last time a deal like this went through, all those terms have expired. So the mayor makes an appointment, the city council makes an appointment, and actually the county council makes an appointment. The county council has acted and appointed Kevin Van Horn to the Lebanon Economic Development Commission. So at this point, I'll be making one shortly, but since we do have an upcoming meeting here on July 2nd, we did want to try to get an appointment from this board before that meeting. So, Rob, anything else you want to fill in on? Did I cover it all, or?
It's appointment from this group or a person we choose?
Either or.
Okay.
It doesn't specify. I think it's good when it's a member from the council, so you guys are involved in the process. Again, it's not a board that meets regularly like the RDC or anything like that. It's once, maybe twice in a year, if that. So it's really not a very common board.
To approve some type of funding?
Yeah, Rob, can you explain what the purpose is of this?
Yeah, it's the city council has utilized the EDC in various types of project financings. I believe the latest project that the city did this was the GDI project, and would have been, I believe, in 2015. And so we're looking at another potential financing of a project, which is the reasoning for having the meeting on next Monday, July 2nd. So,
I mean the GDI where they did the work on the back of the building, rerouted some infrastructure.
I believe that's correct. It was a bond
They were extending the
financing.
building.
Yeah.
They had rerouted the power line, a ditch and everything. Okay.
Yeah, so it's, like I said, it's kind of it's just a board through the process of it, all of it. I mean, anything that this board does, it eventually does come back to city council, so there's still oversight from it, but having one of you guys on the board helps that process along, so. Or it could be an appointment for the public, that's
I'll
another
nominate
option.
myself,
Okay,
or Dick can nominate me if he doesn't want to do it. Or
If
If somebody else wants to do
If
it.
Mike is willing, I would nominate Mike to serve on that board if Mike is willing.
I'll second.
okay. So we have a motion to appoint Councilman Kincaid to the Lebanon Economic Development Commission.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I just
John
did.
already did.
Oh, John, second.
Yes.
So motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Congratulations.
Thank you. The key thing was 2 meetings a year.
Yeah,
That's
there we
all
go.
I can do.
All right.
That's overstated.
Yeah, and 2 meetings a year, maybe.
It might be
it's-
this year.
It may just be 1 or 2, yeah, so. All right. Next item I have up here is ordinance 2018-09, which is changes relating to the usage of golf carts within city limits. Ordinance is up on first reading tonight. This comes from just feedback we've received now that have pretty much finished the East Street project that's in its final closeout phases. There was discussion and we wanted to make sure it was clear to residents that golf carts are not permitted on trails that we build within the city. Our ordinance does a good job of specifying that it's not permitted on city sidewalks. But I did want to amend the section. This is the main edit where this happens. Section 75.05. We just added multi-use paths or trails to that section. That was the main change there. And then there also was a change in the maximum capacity of a golf cart, which, I mean, Councilman Coots, this one came from you that we should mention. We should fix that when we got a chance, changing it from 4 to 6. There are golf carts that come from the manufacturer with 6 seats on them. Those would have been prohibited those are actually currently prohibited in town. But this would be a minor adjustment there. It still requires everyone to be in factory seats, so it's not like you're putting 6 people onto a golf cart that only hold 4. It has to be designed to hold the 6, so. Any questions, comments about that?
So how does that control someone sitting on somebody's lap?
So they're not sitting in a factory seat, so then that would be a violation of the ordinance.
Okay.
Yep. Let's see where it says that.
I did it one time, Dick. Come on now.
So, yeah, 75.06, that's where it says, shall be equipped with rear-facing mirrors and factory seating for all occupants with a maximum occupancy of 6 people. So that just changed that from 4 to 6. So again, still have to be on the seat, can't be on a lap. Any other questions from anybody? Like I said, it seems pretty straightforward. Again, just want to make sure people were clear they could be on trails, so.
I think the main
Would
issue
it-
was making sure that we had something in there about trails and things like that. That make
Correct.
sure we can use it.
Yep. I just remember Councilman Coots and I spoke about it one time, that we have golf carts that people are driving around that we actually permit, that we don't know that they're actually 6-seaters instead of 4. So that was just a kind of a cleanup.
Right.
So,
Does it make sense, given the 4th of July holiday next week, to possibly suspend the rules?
that would be the will of council. Again, I don't think this is not I wouldn't want to on the next ordinance, but on this one, I don't have
On this one, since it simply clarifies the trails, since we've got the parade going through the parade route on East Street, we've got that open. It'll give LPD an easy stance. Makes sense to go ahead and get this passed this week prior to July 4th.
will of the council would have to be unanimous.
It has to be passed twice, doesn't it?
We can read on first reading, and then we can vote unanimously to suspend the rules and move it to second reading if we chose to, but
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I
Can
don't
you
know if-
restate what you're?
Essentially, I'm interested in suspending the rules tonight because the 4th of July is coming up next week.
Oh, okay.
We're going to have East Street open for the parade. And since the trail does go down East Street, my concern is we're going to have excess golf carts on the parade route. This would give LPD the ability to enforce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have real trouble with either, but my only question is, Tanya, when someone comes to get their permit, do they all get a copy of this ordinance?
We ask them if they have a copy, which most people have gotten a golf cart permit before, not all, but we ask them if they would like a copy of the ordinance. If they don't have it, we have copies for them.
I just want to make sure that they all know that they have to have insurance on them.
Yeah.
Well, they
have
don't
to
get
have
the
the-
Permit.
They don't get the permit without.
No, I know they don't without the insurance. And then, but
Right.
how do we know that, just like going back to State Bureau of Motor Vehicles, it cancels the day after they get it?
They usually put on their homeowners. It's just
Well,
an
it's-
easy thing.
It's on their car insurance or their homeowner's insurance.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean,
I
I
have,
don't think they just go cancel it. I mean, I'm guessing. I mean, I'm sure it might happen, but
Well,
I've never had that
I
experience.
don't disagree, but there's a whole slew of them have no permits on their golf cart either. None.
That's
I
up
mean,
to
they're
the
like weeds.
police to pull them over.
Well,
there.
Keith, I'm actually pleased to announce, we actually had our first golf cart ticket.
I know, I heard that
Okay.
today. That's good.
So we are enforcing it. So.
Wait,
I'm
that was the-
tickled to death with that.
that was the point I was going to go to, being retired from the city police, I understand the challenges of dealing with this ordinance. I was actually on city council when we voted in favor of the ordinance. There's been some procedural problems in getting those tickets written. That's been solved now, and we have apparently written a ticket. I would just like to say to Chief Warmoth, if we could do a little bit of outreach on social media perhaps and explain to folks that, it's easier for us to write tickets now, and now that this whole issue's been brought forth right before the 4th, that it's fine if folks want to use their golf carts, but I think we can all tell horror stories of things we've seen that hopefully that won't happen anymore. So,
We did post the rules to golf carts on our Facebook.
Ah.
We will do it again, and we will also let them know that.
Perfect.
We do now have the software in our ticket system, the tickets in our software system where we can write the tickets. And on the 4th, generally, yes, we had to have a little leeway.
Exactly.
We do, or we'd be overwhelmed.
absolutely.
So we do have a little leeway, but yes, we're going to start doing a crackdown on the driving underage or at nighttime or not having the permits. During the Mel Canyon race, we were checking all the golf carts that were coming to the Mel Canyon race, and they all had their permits.
Perfect.
So, I mean, there is compliance there. I'm sure there are going to be people that try to sneak by without their permits, same way people run stop signs and speed, and we'll catch them as we can.
Yep.
To date, we've sold 263 golf cart permits this year. One other thing I will mention, just in case anybody's listening, for those that rent golf carts for the week, or I've had a couple phone calls where people bring them in from a different city. We're saying that, yes, you have to also get a golf cart permit from us, that if you get caught, you'll get a ticket. So we talked about that today. This also brings me now to, if we're going to pass this tonight, Matt and I talked earlier about the penalty. Thank you. If you read 7599, it says not to exceed $100. Well, that leaves it pretty wide open. So I just need to know where we stand on what we're charging. I'll let Matt
Yeah, so.
talk about it. but-
Yeah, in the past, I believe we just have been fining people $25. So we have not
because
necessarily
we
been.
didn't know what to do.
Yeah, so that's pretty much a parking ticket, pretty much is kind of what we were doing for the golf cart. We've talked about maybe, in the fireworks ordinance later, there's kind of a step-up procedure. I hadn't thought we would pass this tonight, but that was something we could have a moment for discussion about if we wanted to have the first violation is, X, and then, that's a little aggressive, but, and then the second violation may be.
100, so.
Oh, canvas, you're at state law or something.
So then the second violation would be another amount, so. But open for discussion, or we can leave it how it is, and it can still be in the, like I said, it's kind of up to Tanya to write how much it's to fine people for, so. I think she wants a little bit more direction, though, than
And I'm fine, because this does say if there's another offense, I'd have to read it, but if 2 violations occur in a calendar year, it will result in a suspension of the golf cart permit. So we are now going to keep track of first offense, and if there is a second offense, which we hope there isn't, but it could be. So then I just need to have, okay, if I'm charging, I charge $25 for the first, do I charge 50, 75, 100 for the second?
I'd say leave it 25. And if it's a problem, we'll look at it next year.
I think people are going to pay the 25 and make it still be a
Oh,
problem.
they've already paid the 25, I mean.
What's the penalty if they are driving with?
Those people are going to be a problem anyway.
Do we impound the golf cart at that point?
They lose their
We
permit.
revoke their
Yeah,
permit.
we revoke their permit.
But if they're still driving with a revoked permit?
Well, I
Let's
can't
worry about
answer
that if it
that.
happens.
Subject to another ticket, another fine.
Well, we'd have to write another ticket before we can do that, so we've only written one, so.
Just ask the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I agree. I think the fine is too light. I think we need to increase it.
Well, it's up to 100,
It's
so
up
it can
to
be.
$100.
We can say from now on, the first violation, if that's the will of council, we can say 50, or 25, and then make the second one. And that could just be her policy, but it's,
I just think the first offense for somebody driving a golf cart, if they haven't read the rules, I think 25 is a sufficient amount of money to be aware. And then if there is a second offense, I'm open to whatever you want the second offense to be, but 50 sounds like an awfully lot of money for,
First offense.
for a first violation.
yeah.
I think your
That's
first
just
offense is an attention getter
Right,
anyway.
right.
It's a short little lesson, but it's also get your attention.
To be aware.
Yes.
I mean,
I thought you
so,
were asking for an increase on a substantial, okay, I see what you're saying now. I got
no,
it.
I'm just trying to make sure
Yes.
that we're all on the same page with the first time you get
Okay, then you can hear you.
a ticket, it's 25, and then where do we want to go from there for the second offense?
I say wait and see if it's a problem, then
Well,
address
then
it.
it's too late.
Oh, is it? Okay, well then.
I mean, I don't know what
you
I'm
make the
supposed to
call.
do if the one person
Well, I
that,
move-
I mean, I'm not,
I
make the
move
call.
we,
What do you want?
I mean,
we amend
Well-
and put the verbiage in there that first offense will be $25, second offense will be $75,
And suspension of the permit.
and a suspension of the permit
In the same year, right?
in the same year.
yes.
Okay.
Now, hold on, is that a 12-month violation, or is that just the same calendar year? Calendar year.
They're issued by calendar year.
Okay.
They're issued 2018, 2019 by year.
So, let's see here, so, if in the violation, the violator shall be fined for a first offense, a sum of $25, and each time the offense shall constitute so if we're gonna tinker with the penalty, let's not do it all on first reading tonight then? Is that okay?
Sort of.
That's
Can I-
fine.
can-
Discussion.
Okay. Are you guys good for the 4th of July, Tyson and Brad? With the trail on East Street, are we comfortable with the ordinance as it's written now? So we can just take the time?
It does say
on this?
it is prohibited on sidewalks. So, I mean, I hate to call that I harp on that's not a sidewalk, it's a multi-use path, but,
We're talking about the extra wide sidewalk.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
You know what, with the parade, that's going to be packed full of chairs and everything else, and I don't see a golf cart being able to get down it.
Right.
And generally, we don't have too many problems with golf carts actually getting up on the sidewalks and driving during the parade, or even
Okay.
during the 4th. It's not a major concern of ours, to be honest. I mean,
Okay.
we'll correct it as we see it, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. There's going to be so much pedestrian traffic on the sidewalk / trail that you're not going to take a golf cart down it.
Okay. Good deal.
all right,
Thanks,
so
Tyson.
I'll go back and I'll rework the penalty phase, make sure that's clear for our next reading. So, Rob, can you read this ordinance on first reading, please? Yep.
All right, Mayor, Council, again, this is ordinance 2018-09 concerning golf carts pursuant to Indiana Code 921-1-3A14 with respect to roads under the jurisdiction of the city in accordance with Indiana Code. And within the reasonable exercise of police power, the city may regulate golf carts. All fines assessed for a violation of the golf court ordinance shall be deposited into the general fund of the city. And as the mayor indicated, as of the effective date of the ordinance, Chapter 75 of the City Code, golf carts will be amended and replaced in accordance with Exhibit A. And those provisions that were discussed were specifically Section 75.05, which included a addition to add restrictions of operation, the multi-use paths or trails. And the mayor also discussed Section 75.06, the safety equipment, changing occupancy from 4 to 6. And then we will rework or reword the penalty provisions in Section 75.99, the penalty. But that'll be Exhibit A to the ordinance.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. So Ordinance 2018-09 has been read on first reading.
Yeah.
Any public comment concerning this ordinance at this time? Okay, that'll be back up for second
I
reading.
have another question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Keith.
As I go through and I was reading that, didn't we have in there something about Indianapolis Avenue and Lafayette Avenue?
We do, yes.
Is it still in there? I just didn't see it.
That is still in there,
Okay, I
correct?
was just glancing through it, didn't see it.
Yep, the only thing that changed was we
That's
added
fine.
the path and then changed
Right,
4 to
that's
6.
fine.
Yep, so
Okay.
that is still in there.
Why are those two roads in there?
You guys were here when it passed, correct? So why is it there?
The way it was when they first put it in. Those were state highways at the point, probably when they was made.
I had a phone
Lafayette
call
Avenue,
about
yeah.
it today, wondering, like, if somebody lives on Lafayette Avenue, how do they, I mean, the mayor and I discussed it, and we said you would just need to get to the closest
Corner.
road
Intersection.
next to it, but
Is there a reason not to remove that language?
I don't know. Yeah.
Because I mean,
If
like,
I
I had
remember
somebody.
correctly, the rationale was speeds,
Right.
aside from the posted speed,
Right.
tend to be higher on those stretches of road because there's no break in traffic, which is not now the case necessarily on Indianapolis Avenue. But like on Lafayette Avenue, you know, people coming off the interstate are supposed to chalk it down to 30, but we know they don't. So that was the concern there, get a golf cart.
I had
high-speed
someone
vehicle
approach me
collision.
last year wanting to drive their golf cart out to the fair, and they can't do that. So,
Well, you can offer amendment at second reading, Councilman Coots. Is
all right,
that fair?
sounds good.
Okay, we'll talk about it then.
I'd like to look at that and possibly make that amendment and remove that one.
That's fine.
That's what we just said.
Yep, so we'll have that discussion at second reading then.
Perfect.
Okay? Again, no public comment on that.
Can't get enough stuff to pull up.
So ordinance 2018-09 has been read on first reading. Again, we'll address that at our July 9th city council meeting.
Golf carts get serious. up
Wow,
here.
that was more than I thought. Okay. So ordinance 2018-10, so this is fireworks usage within city limits?
Mayor, can I?
Yes, go ahead, Dick, I'm sorry.
Is there any way we could have Kevin and Larry look into putting some, no cart signs, no go?
We've already ordered those, should be in within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yep,
Where are they going?
on the path.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that was active living committee. We've been working on that already.
All right.
Yep. Okay, so ordinance 2018-10 regards, ordinance regarding the use of consumer fireworks within the corporate city limits. Rob, would say you read this first, and I'll kind of run through it then afterwards.
Yep, thanks, Mayor, Council. This ordinance 2018-10 concerns the use of fireworks within the City of Lebanon corporate limits pursuant to Indiana Code 2211-14-10.5. The city may adopt an ordinance concerning the use of consumer fireworks within the city corporate limits. This council finds it's in the public interest of the city to provide certain regulations as appropriate use of consumer fireworks in order to maintain an orderly and quiet environment within the city. The council wishes to amend and replace section 130.03 of the city municipal code, and those provisions would be set forth below in the ordinance. but it would be legal consumer fireworks as defined in Indiana code may be discharged within Lebanon only during the following dates and times: between the hours of 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. on January 1, 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. on the first day of the Chinese New Year, and the dates vary annually between January 21st and February 20th. Between the hours of 12 a.m. and 11 p.m. on the first day of the Chinese New Year, dates again vary between January 21st and February 20th. Between the hours 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. on the President's Day, which is celebrated the third Monday in February. There's a whole list of these in here, but between 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. on a day in which official Indianapolis 500 race is held, between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Memorial Day, 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. or 2 hours after sunset, on dates June 20th through July 3rd and July 5th through the 9th, and between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. midnight on July 4th. You have 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Labor Day, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. on the third day of the holiday of Diwali, which this date varies annually between the end of October and early November. 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. on dates December 24th and 25th. 10 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. on December 31st, and on any other day designated by the Board of Public Works and Safety for public fireworks display between 2 p.m. and 11 p.m. on such day.
Okay. So I know that was a lot there.
This is a rather lengthy ordinance, and it does go on to go through Mayor, Council, the location, debris, special permits, the violations and the penalty provisions, and just the effective date. So that's all set forth in here as well.
Can you read the violation penalties?
Yeah, the violations are in section 130.034. First offense is up to $75. Second offense up to $100. Third offense up to $150. Fourth offense $200. Fifth $250. Sixth and subsequent offenses up to $300. And then each day or a continued violation if on the same day constitutes a separate and additional offense.
Okay.
Which will, of course, lead me to, what am I going to charge? I mean, again, we're at the sort of at the same place we were with the golf cart permits where it says up to. So the first offense is up to 75. How am I going to know what to charge that person that gets a ticket?
Make it the number that it says. Make it the top number, 75.
$75 for the first offense of setting off
Yes.
a sparkler, sorry, a firework.
Well, but the other thing that you have to keep in mind here, typically if it's getting, if it's getting through to you, police have already been involved usually multiple times, and they finally decided, I'm done with you, I'm going to cite you. So I know first offense at 75 sounds steep, but that probably means that Brad and Tyson and their team have been out there probably 3 or 4 times on the same house.
Yeah.
Yes, if we're starting this, I mean, prior to this, the ordinance was very short, and it didn't.
And not in compliance with Indiana law either.
It basically said, don't throw fireworks. So it was a
Actually,
sentence.
firebrands was the terminology.
What was
Firebrands.
it?
We're
Yes,
not to
it
throw
is
firebrands or
firebrands.
other ignitable
I have it on my
material.
desk, yeah,
It was from 1875.
it
Yes.
was. Okay, so on the first offense,
I think it's, I know it says up to, but I think when you
so
read
we're
that, it really
charging
just should be.
$75.
We aren't, you are.
Yeah, but I tell them who made that rule.
No, I
Not
just
me.
want to reiterate what Councilman Kuhn says. If
I
it gets to the clerk treasurer's office, it's a big problem that if we had to write tickets, I
Right.
say we, I'm no longer a
I
member of LPD,
understand.
but yeah, it's, I can't think of the last fireworks ticket that I actually wrote. Normally, we try to say, look, folks, you're violating the ordinance, you're upsetting neighbors, let's knock it off. And even if you have to tell them a second time, but if it gets beyond that and we're writing tickets,
And
They need to understand it's serious.
I think we're pretty generous on the dates too. I mean,
Right.
from June 25th to July 9th is a pretty good amount of time.
I think it's June 20th, wasn't it?
Sorry, June 20th?
20th,
Yeah, June
not the
20th.
25th.
Sorry, June 20th through
Right.
July 9th is a pretty generous amount of time. So, I mean, it would have to be violations that are occurring outside of that time
Right.
period.
Tyson and Brad, does that sound reasonable? I mean, with the discussion that we're having?
Like Councilman Leach said, generally when we go down there, we ask them to comply and just knock it off for the night. And the second time, again, we're maybe a little more stern, and the third time, yeah, we're writing the
Okay.
ticket then. But it's, if it does
But you
reach
can write a ticket on the first,
we can,
I mean,
but with this golf cart and the fire, we're going to be the most unpopular people in Lebanon. We realize that. So we try to use a lot of leeway. We try to, be considerate to people, and
I understand.
but it's going to be a final recourse most of the time when we write the ticket.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions concerning this ordinance, or?
My only comment is, I just think there's way too many things here, opportunities, a lot of fireworks. I mean, like New Year's and 4th of July, I mean, the day of the Indy 500, I mean, I don't know that I've ever heard anybody.
We
light
love
a
fireworks in this
firecracker
town,
on
so I
the
thought
Indy
we'd try to
500
be.
Or President's Day.
Well, our President's Day is actually allowed in our currently in our ordinance, so.
I think, personally, I think it's.
You don't celebrate our presidents?
The reality is,
I just
those
think it's-
dates are only until 11 PM, I believe, correct?
That's correct. That is correct.
I don't
Which
know. I just
falls
think
under
it's-
our noise ordinance. So as long as it's before 11 PM, technically they can do it anyway.
We're a town with an artillery unit in it. We like to blow things up.
That's my comment.
Some of those were included,
I could take these out, I can't.
so, I mean, all honesty here, right, I mean, I pretty much like copy and pasted this from Whitestown, so our ordinances would be similar. And so, I understand we probably don't have a huge population in Lebanon celebrating Chinese New Year or Diwali, but I think from if we're going to be inclusive to people, and, if people find a reason to read the ordinance, or, hey, I can shoot fireworks on Chinese New Year, then they can choose to do so.
Is that only in the year of the rat or the snake?
Doesn't specify, so any Chinese New Year.
Mayor, could you explain
That he knew that.
for those folks that love to shoot fireworks off
Yep.
and the location and the debris, so they understand what they're about to undertake?
Sure.
That's already out there in the ordinance. And I have to tell you, it can be pretty nasty to them if they understand it.
Rob, do you want to read that section then?
Yeah, and this is section 130.032. So the fireworks may be used or discharged during the times that set forth above with the permission of the property owner. No person may use, ignite, or discharge fireworks on any public street or public property, including the parks, without the permission of the state fire marshal or Lebanon fire chief. The users shall be responsible for cleaning and the proper disposal of all debris resulting from the discharge of consumer fireworks. And it's a violation of this ordinance if fireworks land upon property owned or occupied by another person from which permission was not first obtained, or upon the public streets or property, which fireworks and/or all related debris is not removed by the user within 24 hours of such use or discharge.
Yep. So, I mean, I think
No, that's fine.
okay. I mean,
I had a quick question. Keith, we talked about one earlier about underage
Oh, yeah.
or juveniles,
Right. That was on the
parents,
other one.
guardians, things like that. Did you want to?
Parents or legal guardians, custodians shall be liable for the monetary loss caused by the acts of children consistent with the provisions of state law.
So I think that's a enforcement question too. Hey, Chief or Brad, when we write a ticket, do we write it to the kid or to the parents?
Generally to the parents.
Okay, so we're already write it to them anyway. So I think it's covered under that, but
Because that's already in the ordinance, I know.
yeah.
The current, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from council? Again, this is, I brought this up just because, this is an issue every year, and I wanted to try to find some resolution to it. Again, I think it's kind of, in fact, we do have an ordinance from 1875 as our only ordinance about this, is kind of something needed to be done. As I mentioned too, our previous ordinance probably was not in compliance with state law, so we had the bare minimum of regulations on it. So I know this is a issue every year, and I try to find a balance between that gives people enough time to celebrate the birth of our nation, but then also be respectful of their neighbors or other events as well too. So that was my goal here. I'm open to suggestions or changes. If you want to if you feel that you don't want to set up fireworks on any 500 day, then Dick, we can pull that out. That's fine. That's fine. So we can make amendments as needed. This is hopefully a starting point of discussion. Hopefully, where we have a clear procedures and clear guide rails here going forward. This was the goal of this. So. Any public comment concerning this? Well, the council think about some more. Like I said, we're trying to define this, so it's always good to hear feedback from the public if there's any thoughts about it. No? Okay.
I have one question. Do you have to see them set the fireworks off? I mean, okay.
It's like texting and driving again.
Thank you.
And that's where the problem comes in. With the
Right.
neighbors say, they're shooting them off, and by the time you get in the neighborhood, that doors are shut and the house is dark. And
Thank you.
again, if we don't see the violation, we can't testify to the fact.
Thanks.
Okay. Any further discussion from council?
No, sir.
Okay. If you have any,
Some hard hitters tonight.
yeah, I know.
Golf carts and fireworks.
Top of mind issues, I guess. If you have like to request any changes, please just let me know. I can have those amendments, and we can have those discussions at our on second reading. So, ordinance 2018-10 has now been read on first reading. It will be addressed at our next meeting on July 9th. Okay.
What's our current law say for the time now for 4th of July? Is there a certain time?
So it's regulated by the state of Indiana on that, since ours is not in compliance, which protects it from June 25th through July 9th.
2 hours after sunset.
2 hours after sunset, yes. Thank you.
2 hours after
It's
sunset
the
on the
June 29th through
29th.
July 9th from 5 p.m. until 2 hours after sunset.
Okay.
And then on the 4th of July, between the hours of 10 a.m. and midnight.
So any fireworks in the next 3 days are technically in violation of state law.
No, so I could stock up.
Yeah.
So.
My fireworks with a shotgun.
Again, this is me trying to be actually more agreeable to fireworks than what we currently allow. So, okay, that's the two ordinances I had tonight. Final item I have here is an appropriation request for city prosecutor. So just to explain this one, this is a little bit of a holdover, an issue we've actually been kind of dealing with, is becoming more of a problem. When we eliminated the city judgeship, we also somewhat unintentionally eliminated our ability to prosecute a case if someone decides to challenge a ticket, a parking ticket, or the various other types of tickets we write on city ordinances. So what has occurred is we're essentially writing all of our violations on state code. And so oftentimes state code, there isn't always an equitable state code that exists with our city ordinances. So this allows us, we've spoken with the prosecutor's office, we actually would be able to write, there's some legal work we have to do to get maybe some agreements between the city and the county on these, but essentially we would be writing our Superior Court 2 would essentially be functioning as our city court. So we would be able to then write our city ordinance violations to that court. They would hear the case. That requires having a city prosecutor. My thought is there are a couple individuals that actually are Lebanon residents that work in the county prosecutor's office So the thought would be to have one of those county prosecutors, the one that actually moves that case forward. It would not be our city attorney. So this would be a different, separate prosecutor than our current legal counsel. So that's essentially when I spoke with Kent Eastwood, I don't know if he's officially the acting prosecutor now after the caucus or not, but
yeah.
he is, okay. He said probably a number of $5,000 for the first year just to see where it is, to start it off, and then we can address that based on how that's going subsequent years after that. But he thinks $5,000 would probably be a good start for us from an appropriation standpoint, and then we can then go forward and discuss more with that. So. Again, I wasn't here when we got rid of the court or how we plan to address this. I don't know what those discussions happened. So, again, I think this is, we're trying to solve the problem we have, how we handle these cases if people just want to appeal their tickets. So, at this point, we kind of just... So, it doesn't happen very often, but it's something we deal with. Yep.
Do ordinance violations
But
like
also
from the planning commission, would they
Yeah.
be something that would be handled also by that person?
Yes.
Okay.
So at this point, anything in city code would
Right.
be under we would actually, our police officers would change what violation is on the ticket. It would actually go from a state code to a city ordinance. Yep.
Okay, so we'll be asking for additional here, appropriation.
Well, additional or out of one of our non-reverting funds, so it could be, riverboat, could be food and beverage, could be whatever we want to do for the rest of this
I
year.
have also, do we have to do this tonight, the actual, make the appropriation this evening? Or just know that we're going to do it?
We don't have to. Again, I wanted to bring it forward to have a discussion about it.
And the only reason I question that is on our sheets that you guys send out, Tanya, in your office, of all the funds, all the 27 pages worth that we get. I happened to see one of those that happened to see, and I can't find it right now, about said city court had like $3,900 left over evidently when it got closed. Is that still there?
The city court actually has 12,000 some.
Okay, so we actually could take it
$35
from
in
that
it,
right there.
But we can't
Can't
move
use
that.
it? Okay, can't do anything with it?
It could change. I didn't really know
Okay.
how this was going to work tonight.
But I knew there was some
Probably get
money
with
in that account.
Rob, but when we dissolved the city court in 2013, we brought in people from the state, and we said, okay, can we just move this money into the general fund? And the answer was no, it has to stay where it is. Somehow it has something to do with if we prosecute.
I thought that was a
50%.
fund that the prosecutor's office has.
Well,
Fees they collect.
this is, well,
This is
I
ours?
don't know about that,
Okay.
but
That's in the auditor's office.
we'll look into it.
That's what I'm saying,
How's
we
that?
figure it out, but I think there's that, and if not else, we can.
We would love
Riverboat, yes.
nothing more than
Oh,
to move that
I'm all-
money because
right.
we
It's already
reconcile it
there,
every
right.
month.
So,
And
it's
we're not
already
doing
there, we
anything
might
with
as
it.
well use it.
But we were told we couldn't move it or use it.
Well, hopefully they'll figure it out this time.
Maybe with this, it'll
Right.
be more clear.
Okay.
As we do prosecute, obviously there would be fines, fees, those sorts of things. How is that handled currently, and what would that look like going forward?
So how do you handle it?
Well, when we dissolved the court in 2013, we sent any, and I believe it's been one, prior to Mayor Gentry coming into office. I think we had talked to our city attorney at the time, Bob Clutter, and anything that was a violation, we sent it to him and he took care of it.
So
And if they needed to go to court, he went to court.
the
which
funds
it
that are
never came to
collected,
that.
where do those fees go? Does that come back into the city?
It will, we have an ordinance
Okay.
fund, yes. I mean, it was different with city court because it had to be divided up. I mean, we sent some to the state, we sent it to the state police, we kept some, and we sent some to courthouse to the court. So
Yeah, so there would be a
this will
similar
be-
type, we would break that out of how the different fees are assessed. And this is to fund the actual prosecutor
Right.
to take the case. So
I
once
just
you
don't
start
want to
writing
get us
ordinances
into a
back on-
situation where, I mean, there's been a number of tickets written in city limits that those fines have not found their way back to the city, right? They're with the county.
Those would be, that's the fund he's talking about, the prosecutor's office. So those would be the funds that are written on state code. That fees are collected and then there's kind of a pot sitting out there, yes. Because right now, but you have to, in order for the city to access, to be paid out of those funds, we have to prosecute 50% of those cases on city ordinances, which we do not currently. So essentially the county is collecting all these fees that are just sitting there not doing anything because we don't prosecute our ordinances.
We're not the only town that has that issue.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. The other thing is, I looked at this today, but the ordinances that we have collected on, one was a dog that was off of a leash, one was a noise violation, and I'm not sure what the other one was. Maybe it was 2 of one and 1 of the other, but we collected $75 last year, and to date, we've collected $75 this year for a $25 either dog or noise. So that's where we are.
What this also allows us to open up the door with having a city prosecutor, we could then start a deferral program, or is that right? Diversion? Deferral program. So speeding tickets, things like that. That's usually what.
Parking tickets, that would go into that as well.
Parking tickets, all of that, yes. So that would then start and fund this eventually, where it's not a.
But also, won't this allow, like you said, our plan commission, our plan department to be able to go and enforce their ordinances?
They write them now.
Right, I know they do.
So if someone challenges them and we really get an arm wrestling match about it, fortunately, we don't really have much legal recourse at this point with that, so. Yes, but yeah, all ordinances that are in the city code would be enforceable by the city prosecutor, yes.
I guess just one point of clarification. I mean, we have, to the extent that the planning department has an issue, we filed one case and then it ultimately got resolved. So, I mean, there is a process to the extent that the city staff and we determined we needed to move forward immediately, we can go down that path.
That's what I'm saying.
This is the mayor and Tanya have been talking, and we've been talking about trying to get a process that would streamline a little better. Instead of writing, again, mostly the traffic tickets, what you see, on state violations, it would be on city ordinances. And then again, the mayor talked about having something, maybe a longer term, like a deferral program, which a lot of municipalities have. That is just provides another opportunity to kind of a give and take with the citizens there.
Okay, cool. So we'll talk about different funds. We'll look at the funds and have a discussion about what makes the most sense. Is there a next one?
That's fine.
Okay, great. So I'll continue my discussions with Kent then and make sure we can start whatever legal agreements we need between the city to where we have. Again, we could do these and we could write them to Whitestown or Zionsville or Thorntown, but I think that doesn't seem fair to our citizens. That we need to have, they need to be issued here and be able to have a court here in town versus out of town. So,
does that mean that if another municipality comes and writes a ticket here, it would be issued into our court?
No.
No, they could. They would have the option, just like the state police have the option to write tickets to Thorntown. Or
is there a way to require a municipality or an enforcement officer to write that ticket into our court?
No. I guess John's the law enforcement officer on the board here, so.
It's
no
the discretion of the officer.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as the court has jurisdiction in that bailiwick, which in a county level, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't any of the city courts you can go to? Because used to, for example, the state troopers always slated people into Thorntown court.
Yeah.
Even if they wrote it on the square in Lebanon, they went to Thorntown court.
Zionsville.
Yeah, exactly. On 865, they'd have to go to Thorntown court.
See, that makes no sense, but that's why I'm curious. Plus,
Well,
I mean, if
that's
they're in our
their-
city limits, we want to reach some benefit.
That's
from
above
that
our
as well.
level, so. That's a state issue, not us.
Curious.
Yeah. But I've heard, though, that the Thorntown Court, though, will be going away relatively soon. So it's probably not a bad idea for us to have a court, too. So. Okay. All right, so we'll address that at our next meeting then. Okay, thank you, council. Any other new business come before the council tonight?
Can I ask one thing?
Yep.
A few months ago, I asked if we could get a joint meeting with the RDC and the Utilities and maybe the Planning Commission, just have a giant working session to discuss all the things that are going on in Lebanon and so we can all be aware and try to figure out how things are working together. Is there any chance we could do that sometime?
We can do that. That's going to require a pretty massive notice and working out when a lot of calendars there to balance. I think we can try to do that. And I think if you want it to be a working session, we'll have to make sure it's properly noticed if we can have enough people there.
If we can schedule it way out, just have a time.
It wouldn't be an executive session, it'd be an open door working session, but yeah, we could.
Yeah, I think a working session is better.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we can work towards that. Okay. Any other new business? Okay. Any announcements or discussion?
Yes, sir.
Any public comment? Okay. This time we would move on to claims and entertain a motion.
I move we pay the claims.
We have a motion to pay the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, claims are approved. And we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, come on.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. The next city council meeting will be July 9th at 7:15 p.m. Thanks for watching.
I heard you first, because this is your work.